Hello, Sumate. You're highly welcome back to yet another interesting tutorial. It's your girl Mercy, and this is Mercy Postiche. So, in this tutorial today, we're going to be learning how to make this simple milkmaid dress without half length. Okay, so this milkmaid dress doesn't have any joining on the half length. Is a simple dress with an off shoulder and a milkmaid on the bust area. Okay, so if this is what you love to learn, I encourage you to stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. It's very simple, it's very detailed, and it's very beginners friendly. Trust me on this. So I'm going to be cutting on my pattern, and what I'm doing here is to measure the length I'm working with. So I merge two of my patterns to be able to get the exact length that I want for this dress, and that is what you see me doing. Okay, so I mark from here, which will be shoulder, to I place my tape on this part which will be shoulder and mark my length. And the next thing I'm going to do is to mark from my shoulder to my chest, from my chest to my bust point, from my bust point to my underbust, from my underbust to my waist, then hip, and all of that. Okay, so I'm marking the lines we'll be needing for this dress, and that is what you see me doing here. And after marking these lines, I'm going to pick up my ruler. I will roll the lines into a straight line, and I'm also going to label the lines. Okay, so if you're coming across my channel for the first time, you are highly welcome. And like I said, my name is Mercy, and here I teach people how to sew. I drop sewing tutorials. I teach how to cut on patterns, on main fabric. I teach beginner friendly tutorials, new trend, and tutorials that are very detailed. That is what I teach here. Okay, so you're highly welcome back, and don't forget to hit on the subscribe button if you have not done so. So I proceeded to label all the lines here, as you can see. And on this shoulder, I'm marking my shoulder divided by 2, and whatever I mark on the shoulder length, I also repeated it on the chest line. On the shoulder line, sorry, I repeated it on the chest line. I also slope my shoulder by 1 inch, and my neck depth, my neck width is 3 inches. So I like drafting a basic body first before altering it into off shoulder. Okay, I love doing that because I find out that it is easy for my viewers to understand, and get the whole detail if I use that method. Okay, so I went on to measure and divide what I have remaining on the armhole line, come in by 0.5 inches, and measure my bust circumference divided by 4, and I connected to form my front armhole curve. So the next thing I'm going to do is to impute my dart, which is my bust span divided by 2, and I am marking it on the waist to the under bust, and I proceeded to connect into a straight line. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to go down 5 inches below my waistline, and I'm going to extend this dart line into the 5 inches below my waistline. Then on the waist, on that line of the waistline, I came in and went in. I came out and went in by 0.5 inches on both sides, and I'm going to be connecting into the under bust. Okay, I'm going to be connecting it into the under bust line. Do you see what I'm doing here? Okay, so I was not doing that, and the next thing I'm going to do now is placing my tape on 5 inches. I measured 5 inches from the bust point to the chest line. Okay, so that is the off shoulder that I'm subtracting. Okay, so to be able to make your off shoulder outfit without revealing cleavage or without it falling off your shoulder, you are going to determine that from your bust point line. When you measure from your bust point line, that will be able to guide you on how down or how high you want your off shoulder to be. Do you understand? So another thing I did is that this place where I have my armhole curve, I came in by 0.75. I came in by 0.75 so that we don't have excess fabric around here. This is an off shoulder. Do you understand? So I, in essence, reconnected the armhole line. Do you see what I have there? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, and on my under bust, I mark my under bust circumference divided by 4. On my waist, I mark my waist circumference divided by 4 as well. and I measured my that allowance of 1 inch and replaced it. Then on my hip, I mark my hip circumference divided by 4 as well. Then I am going to pick up my ruler and I'm going to connect. Okay, now I am going to measure what I have on my hip. I will subtract no, actually I'm supposed to subtract 1 inch, but since this dress is not going to have any slit at the back, I ended up not subtracting anything. I proceeded to mark the same thing I mark on the hip line is what I mark on the length. Do you understand? So if yours is going to have slit, please go ahead and subtract 1 inch from what you have on the hip line. And I proceeded to connect the line, and this is what I have here. Okay, so I am trying to make sure that the lines are very visible. Okay, so now this is what I have right now, and the next thing I am going to do here is to mark my allowance. So you can mark this on your paper, or you wait until you transfer to your main fabric then mark. The choice is all yours, and that is what you see me do. I decided to mark my own on the paper since I still have some excess paper remaining, like I have allowance on the paper, and that is why I decided to mark it on the paper. Okay, that like add up my allowance on the paper. All right, so I proceeded to connect the allowance lines, as you can see, and this is what I have. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do right now is to cross check my measurement, and I ensure that everything is perfect and everything is okay. And what I'm going to do next is to pick up my scissors and I'm going to cut out. Okay, so that is what I am going to do. Okay, so basically I measured from my shoulder line to 4.5 inches. That is what it means. Okay, that is what it means. So I'm not going to be adding extra allowance on the up. Okay, because of what I already have. And if you're going to be adding, you can make it 4.5 inches. Okay, so I proceeded to pick up my scissors and I am going to cut out. And after cutting out, the next thing I'm going to do is to use it to cut out the back part. So before I alter it, I'm going to cut out the back part, and that is what you see me do here. So I cut out the same exact thing on the upper part for the back part, like you see, and added 1.5 inches for my allowance, zipper allowance, as you can see. And on the waistline of the zipper allowance, I went in by 0.5 inch, 0.75, and connected. Okay, I also added up some allowance on the hem for hemming. Okay, so this is exactly what I have, and I'm going to remove my pin and set this back part aside, and I'm going to work on this paper right now so that we can be able to use it for the front part. Like I'm going to work on it. Remember, it's a milkmaid dress without half length, right? So I am going to get the pattern for the milkmaid, and this is what I am going to do. So I went up from this chest line by 1 inch. Okay, I went up by 1 inch, and I'm going to come in here as well by about 1 inch again. Okay, and I am just going to connect. So I'm going to pick up my scissors like this, and I'm connecting like this. Okay, so this is what I went on to do. I'm just going to trim off this part like this. Okay, and after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is to cut through the under bust line. That is what you see me do here. I'm cutting through the under bust line, as you can see. And if you want yours to be like a cousin milkmaid dress, you're just going to follow the shape I just pointed here, but I don't want mine to be corset milkmaid dress. It's just a normal dress without half length. So I went on to cut out on my main fabric, and I added half of an inch on the down part of my main fabric. That is the skirt part. Added half of an inch on the waist of the skirt part, and also added half of an inch on the waist of the upper part, as you can see. So what I did here is that I multiply what I have on my paper, about 2 of it, and added 1 inch allowance. Okay, so that is what I did here, because I'm going to plait it. So I multiply what my paper is by 2. So if you have enough fabric, you can make it 2.5. I have only 2 yards of fabric for this, so you can make it 2.5 if you want your milkmaid to be very full, the pleats on the milkmaid to be very full. Okay, so what I did is that I went on to my machine. Remember that 1 inch I added? This is what I use it for allowance. So I joined it on the center front, and I forgot to also mention that the front I slitted into two, the milkmaid part of the front. So I join it and I'm going to hem this part. I'm going to fold it like this to hem it, and I'm also going to repeat the same process on the second side. Okay, so I'm going to hem it like this so that it can be like a slit on the center front. So you saw that I have already pleated on one side, so I'm going to show you how I did it on the second part. So the first thing I did was that I came in by 2 inches, which was the allowance I added on my pattern. That side allowance I added. Now from that 2 inches, I am going to be forming my plate, and as I plate, I'm going to pick up my pattern, the pattern of this milkmaid part, to know exactly what I have on my pattern, and make sure that as I plate, I arrive at exactly what I have on my pattern. Do you understand? So that is what you see me do. So I'm going to be plating gradually, ensuring that my pleats are of the same size and they are looking equal. Do you understand? So that is what I'll keep doing, and after I was done, I'm going to show you what I have. Okay, so like I said, I am going to plate it and ensure that it rhymes with what I have on my pattern. So I am going to measure, and I am going to ensure that I have my 2 inches set aside. The 2 inches I set aside initially is there. Then this upper part, I came in by 1 inch, which is the allowance where I'm going to be joining. Now this is my pattern, and this is what I have on the pattern. Okay, so can you see what I have on my pattern? So I made sure that I have the same thing plus allowance, 1 inch allowance on the upper part. Okay, so I made sure that I added 1 inch allowance to what I have on my pattern and use it for my pleat on the upper part, so that I can have joining allowance to join with my sleeve. And on the down part as well, I measured what I have on the pattern of my down part. Okay, do you understand? Remember, I set aside the 2 inches I have on my pattern right on the side, and I made sure that I get exactly. So here is what I have before the 2 inches, and as you also, you can see the 2 inches, right? So another thing I did is that I cut out the strip, and I'm going to be using it to pipe the this upper part. Okay, that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to place it like this, and I'm going to sew. Okay, I'm placing it right side facing right side, and I'm going to sew, and after sewing, I will turn it over and pipe. Okay, so that is what I'm doing, and after that, I'm going to show you what I have. Okay, so I kept sewing, and I ensured that I sewed it in a way that I can be able to pass um my rope to it. Okay, I'm sewing it in a way that it has casing, and I can be able to pass my rope in between. Okay, so after sewing it, I proceeded to sew my rope. You know how I normally sew our lacing rope. That is how I sew this rope, and I closed one end, and I didn't close the other end. Okay, so for my skirt part, I want you to sew my dart, and you can see I use 1/2 inch on my waist dart, and on the other bust, because the fabric is stretchy, I went in 1/4 inch to pick the dart. Okay, so that it can be the same thing with the under bust here, because this fabric is stretchy. So I'm going to align it center to center, right side facing right side, and I'm going to join it. Okay, I'm going to join it, and after that, I'm going to use my safety pin to pass my rope on it, and I'm going to show you what we have. Okay, so after passing my rope, I went on to sew the dart on the back part, and I also join the part that I'm before after the zipper allowance. Okay, and I also pipe the neckline of the back part, that is the off shoulder neck. So what I'm going to do now is to set aside my 1.5 inch zipper allowance, and I'm going to measure my 1 inch. I'm going to measure 1 inch here for my allowance, as you can see, to join in with the sleeve, and I'm going to measure what I have from that allowance line, and I also measure what I have overall if I subtract my the inches I removed from the shoulder to the neckline, and I'm repeating the same process on this one as well. Okay, so now after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out my sleeve. So I went on to place this to fold this fabric into two, and I'm going to use it to cut out my sleeve. So I added extra 2 inches to my sleeve length, because that will be the hemming allowance for both the upper part and the down part, and this sleeve is going to have elastic on the down part and the upper part. So I went on to mark. I added extra 5 to 6 inches from my normal bicep, so that since I'm going to be attaching elastic rope to it, it can be able to give it that gathers effect. And I went on to repeat the same process on the upper part. So what I did is I came down by 4.5 inches, and I'm just going to connect it to this point like this. And the next thing I'm going to do is to measure to see what I have, to see if what I have rhymes with what I have on the armhole line of my main outfit. If it doesn't rhyme, I'm going to still extend the line. Okay, so I measured and it didn't rhyme, and extended the line once again, as you can see, and I'm still going to take the measurement again until I get exactly what I want. And after getting exactly what I want, I am going to pick up my scissors, and I'm going to cut out. Okay, so once I cut out, I'm going to fold another fabric into two like this to cut out the second part of the sleeve. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, so I cut out this one, and I'll go on to cut out the second part of my sleeve. All right.
Mama, when is this our pepper soup spice?
Okay, so I proceeded to cut out the second sleeve, as you can see, and the next thing I'm going to do is to fold the upper part and the down part. I'm just going to hem them, and I'm going to hem them in a way that I'll create a channel where I'll also pass through my elastic
up of it.
rope to it. Okay, so I'm going to be passing elastic rope on the upper part and on the down part as well with my safety pin, and after that I am going to be attaching it to my main bodice. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do right now. So I'll use my safety pin to pass it through it. Remember, on the upper part and on the down part, and we're going to be fixing it on the main body. Okay, so that is what you see me doing right now. So I am going to make sure that what I subtracted from my shoulder when I was drafting my off shoulder, I am going to make sure that I subtract 1 inch from that. Take for example, what I subtracted was 5 inches. So I'm still going to subtract 1 inch from that 5 inches, since this is elastic, and that is what I'm going to be using for my overall shoulder, sleeve shoulder. So I am going to make sure that I subtract 1 inch, and I will also make sure that I have extra 1 inch for my allowance. Okay, so in other way, I'm trying to say that you can leave exactly what you have there, exactly what you have. Like mine, it was 10 inches, and I made exactly 10 inches because I'm going to use 1 inch to join, and at the end I'll be left with 1 inch below what I subtracted when I was drafting. I don't know if you get me. If you don't get, please just pay attention to what I'm doing. I know you will understand. So I went on to mark my 1 inch on my main bodice, and I'm going to pick my sleeve, placing it one right side facing right side, and I'm going to join. Okay, like I said, I am marking 1 inch on the sleeve as well. Remember, what we have was 10 inches, which is exactly what I have from my shoulder to the new neckline of the off shoulder. But because I added elastic band, it is stretchy, so I will not make it exactly, because if I make it exactly, it becomes too loose, and that is why I went on to use 1 inch out of the exact measurement to for joining allowance. Okay, so that when I'll be done doing it, sewing it, it will be very fitted, like it have a grip on me. So that is what I meant. So what I'm going to do now is, after attaching all the sleeve, I am going to go on to fix my zipper, and it'll be time for us to join the side. Okay, so that's exactly what I'm going to do, and after which I'm going to show you what we have. Okay, so I was done doing all of the things I said, and now it's time for me to join the side. I'm going to be dividing all my circumference by 2. My bust circumference divided by 2, I'm going to mark it and distribute any other remaining allowance evenly on both sides. And repeat the same process on the under bust. I'll divide it by 2, and whatever allowance remaining, I'll distribute it evenly. The same thing with the waist circumference, the hip circumference, and I'll go on and join. And after joining, I'm going to show you what we have. Okay, I was done joining, and this is what I have. So I'm going to give it a very good press and overlock the inside, and this is the final result. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not done so. Give us a thumbs up and drop a comment for us, or question if you have any. See you some other time. Bye.